have our third and final prepared speech of the day. The speaker is Bob Ransom. He's speaking from the Competent Communication Manual, number 3, Get to the Point. His title is He Can't Come In. The speech will be 5 to 7 minutes long. The speech was inspired by the meeting theme from a few weeks ago on racial inequality rather. It was triggered from a memory in Bob's childhood. Bob, take it away.
It was in the summer of 1956, when I was 12 years old, that I was suddenly and rudely introduced to man's inhumanity to man. It came about when I witnessed an insidious act of racism born out of ignorance, arrogance, and cruelty. In the 1950s, Colorado did not suffer the reputation for racism that existed in the Deep South. That is not to say that it did not exist in Colorado, because it did. Personally, my only interest in 1956 was playing Little League Baseball. I lived in an all-white, middle-class neighborhood. There was one black kid in my school. He was also on my team. His name was Phil Hart. Phil was quiet, humble, but a leader on the team. I was proud to say that Phil was my friend. Looking back on it, our coach, Bill Haynes, a hero of mine to this day, gets a lot of credit for creating a safe space in which Phil could thrive. My naivete, my lack of awareness about social evils in the world was about to be shattered thanks to playing baseball with Phil Hart. The highlight of our summer of baseball was going to be a road trip. Our team was going to travel into the mountains west of Denver to a little town called Hot Sulphur Springs. We were going to play the 12-year-old team from the town, but the real highlight was going to be the private swimming pool party for our teams to be at the local hot springs pool. We went to the town, played the game, and we all went to the pool, forming a line to go in one by one. In went Steve, Carrie, Gary, Jeff, and a few others. Phil was next in line, and I was right behind Phil. The pool owner, a man named Wilbur, was taking the tickets. I remember his name because I stared at his name tag for a long time. When Phil handed his ticket to Wilbur, Wilbur said, "He can't come in." What? I blurted out loud, "What? Why can't Phil go in?" Wilbur's response changed my view of the world forever. Wilbur said, "He can't come in because he's colored." Colored? I thought he's just Phil. And then from behind me, a voice speaking other words that also made an impact on my life. It was Coach Haynes. "If he can't go in, nobody goes in. Carrie, Gary, Jeff, Steve, out of the pool. We're going home." Oh, on the ride home, I felt sad and confused. Was I sad because I couldn't go swimming? Or was it something much, much deeper? As I look back on it now, I cannot imagine how Phil Hart must have felt. Being made to feel inferior because of the color of his skin, not to mention that his 12-year-old buddies couldn't go swimming because of him. When I think back on it now, I feel sad. Phil Hart overcame that little setback in life. And for all I know, Wilbur unknowingly may have fanned the flames that were already lit inside of Phil, stoking a fire that has burned bright to this very day. Phil Hart graduated from the University of Colorado with the highest of honors. And as a matter of fact, later on in life, in 1995, he was inducted into an exclusive club of distinguished alumni, including a Supreme Court justice, astronauts, and award-winning scientists. Phil got his master's and his doctorate from Michigan State University. He went on to be the head professor of sociology at the University of Massachusetts at Boston, a position he held until 2002. Along the way, he authored 2 award-winning children's books on the history of Black aviators. He created, wrote, and produced an award-winning documentary called Dark Passages on the Atlantic slave trade. He became a noted civic leader in both Boston and later in Los Angeles. Oh, and by the way, also along the way, he, in business, made a fortune in the biotech and real estate industries. Phil Hart could buy Wilbur's little swimming pool today, and probably the entire town of Hot Sulphur Springs. I feel fairly certain, knowing Phil as I knew him when we were 12 years old, that if Wilbur was to knock on Phil Hart's door today, the words out of Phil Hart's mouth would be, "Welcome. Come in. What can I do for you?" The last words Wilbur would ever hear out of Phil Hart's mouth would be, "He can't come in, Madam Toastmaster."